Training through the winter months can be a real challenge. I've had to put up with rain, flooded roads, ice, even hailstorms.
Bloody hell!
But it's not impossible. In this video, I want to share with you one really effective technique I found a few months ago that's helped me to continue training through these colder, darker months, and actually, I haven't missed a single workout yet. My name's Andy, and I'm an ultra cyclist on a quest to be the best I possibly can be. I make videos about ultra training, kit, and adventures with a fresh upload every week. I've got a long road ahead of me, and I want to bring you along for the journey. Welcome to The Road Provides.
Good morning, friends, and welcome back. If you are subscribed, thanks for coming back. And if you're not, hit subscribe for more ultra cycling related videos. And I hope you're all well out there, and I hope you can hear me well. I'm testing a new microphone today. I'm recording this deliberately into the wind slightly. So hopefully, let me know in the comments if the sound quality is better than usual. I'm hoping this will kill off some of the wind noise. But let's see. You join me on another typically wintry British day. A Sunday in February. Right now it's 5 degrees Celsius, it could be a lot colder. I'm about 2 hours in, so I should be about a 5 or 6 hour ride roughly. Currently just riding past a city called Chichester on the south coast. And it's really nice out in the countryside behind Chichester, around Goodwood. And the main thing is, the weather is far better today than it was yesterday. If you follow me on Instagram, then you'll have seen the shenanigans from yesterday. That was a day to forget. I managed to motivate myself to get out and train in some pretty grim conditions. And unfortunately, that time around, things went from bad to worse. But it did give me an idea of something to talk about today while I'm out getting my remaining 5-6 hours done. You'll know, if you've been following for a little while, I've been trying to work on the psychological side of ultra cycling. Mental fortitude, that kind of thing. Depending on who you ask, some will say that's more important than the physical training. Anyway, in my opinion, it's 50-50. I'm putting most of my energy into physical training, but it's all for nothing if you can't motivate yourself mentally to get out in awful conditions and ride anyway. And the last couple of months in the UK have been pretty grim. You'll know if you follow for a little while that I do about 10 hours riding on the weekends, split across Saturday and Sunday. And generally it's been wet, icy, windy, one of those three, for about 2 months now. I do feel like it's kind of taking care of business, got to get out and do it, but it's not always easy to motivate yourself when you're tired and cold and you don't really want to be out in it. Whilst I am out training physically to get fitter, I'm very aware that I need to work on the psychological side of ultra cycling. So that's something I've been doing. I tend to watch a lot of self-help type stuff, TED Talks. I've always kind of been interested in that sort of thing anyway. But I've been trying to take on techniques and things that might help me psychologically in this game. So I stumbled across a technique a couple of months ago, which I've been trying to implement ever since. And I'll be honest, it works really well. It's a technique called the 15-minute rule. And in my experience recently, it's been really effective. A really good way to get me out the door and out training in some pretty grim conditions. And speaking of grim, yesterday was a classic. I used this rule, the 15-minute rule yesterday, to get out the door and get training. The forecast was for rain all day. It's 4 degrees Celsius. When I first got out the door, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. It's the heavens opened and I was soaked before I knew it. I tend to only bring the camera out for one of these rides on the weekends, and yesterday would have been the day. You'd have had a good laugh at that. So my original plan yesterday was to ride 3 hours or so and save about 7 hours for today. Once I motivated myself to get out the door, it wasn't actually that bad, to be honest. And I reached a point in the ride where I was soaking and cold, but actually not too bad. I have a knack of underselling things, but it wasn't too bad. I reached a point, the top of Portsdown Hill near to my home, and I thought I can turn left and extend this by an hour and a half, or I can turn right and go home. And I went left. And as soon as I descended that hill, I hit a massive pothole on the descent. My rear wheel smashed into the far side of the pothole, burst the inner tube, instant deflation. So I skidded to the side of the road and got out under a bus stop. Immediately looked at the damage, and I've dented the rim and everything. It was a bit of a disaster. But even worse than that, I realized I didn't have any of my repair gear. Spare tube, pump, all of that stuff, which is really unlike me, really bizarre. But actually, once I realized what happened and started walking, I saw the bag in the road. I knew it wasn't like me. The bag must have come dislodged, flown into the road, and a car drove over it. So whilst I did have all my gear, it's absolutely trashed. I realized after that, I thought I'd try to get to a train station and get the train home. I was about 7 or 8 miles from home, and I realized the trains aren't running. I don't know why, so I can't get a train. So I've got a long walk ahead of me. 4 degrees, freezing cold, wet. I better get a wriggle on. Managed to get to a Halfords instead, picked up a couple of bits, used their track pump, and then I rode home. It was an absolute disaster of a ride. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a side quest, bit of a side story. Motivated myself to get out. It does work. It doesn't mean you're going to have a flawless ride. Anyway, you can't win them all, and I thought you might find that funny. I do think situations like that, hopefully, make us a bit more resilient in the long run. But let's see, definitely sucked. So long story short, that was not a lot of fun. I think what it shows is motivation is not always there, the same every day as it was yesterday. Getting motivated to get out and do another 5-6 hours today, after that experience yesterday, is a bit more difficult. And it's times like that when the going gets a bit tough and you don't really want to be getting out the door. Techniques like this are so useful. So what is it? What is the 15-minute rule? It's actually pretty straightforward. I'll give you an analogy. I'm sure, like me, DIY is right down towards the bottom of your list of favorite things to do. When I do DIY, I really don't want to be starting that job whatsoever. But if you're also like me, you don't live alone. Once you've committed to doing something like that, if you don't get on with the job, then you're in trouble. So you find the motivation to get started and start chipping away at painting or whatever it is. But I always find getting started is the hardest part. As soon as you get started, 10 or 15 minutes into that job, you realize it's actually quite therapeutic. It's not that difficult, and it's quite rewarding as well. Maybe it's just me, but getting started is the hardest part. And that's where the 15-minute rule comes in. You can use this technique pretty much anywhere in life. The idea is pretty simple. Something that you know you're going to benefit from, but you're finding it hard to get started. Set a timer or look at the clock and give yourself 15 minutes to have a go. And if you get 15 minutes in and you still really don't want to be there, then stop. For me personally, every time I've used this, it's worked really well. Yesterday, when I first started riding and it was raining and cold, didn't really feel very good. As soon as the rain started hitting me, that feeling inside, oh, I got hours of this. Do I want to be out doing this? So I said then, let's give it 15 minutes and see how this goes. And it was right towards the beginning of the ride. So actually, 15 minutes in, I warmed up, my heart rate got up a bit, and you realize the rain isn't that bad. You get damp, you continue to be damp. It's really not too bad, so I carried on. I'm climbing now, so I'm gonna be out of breath. But as I said in that story, I got a few hours in and I thought I can go left, ride further, go right, and go home. And I wanted to go further. So once you motivate yourself to get started, that's almost always the hardest part. I do think there comes a point when things get a bit silly. That's where I'm trying to learn techniques to get past when things go wrong further into rides. But as far as getting started on days like today, the 15-minute rule works really, really well. Today the weather's about the same as yesterday, pretty much, except it's not raining yet. It's about 1 or 2 degrees warmer than yesterday. And it's forecast to rain in about an hour. And I've got about 2.5 hours left. So I'm probably gonna be getting wet and cold. I'm already out, so what's the worst that can happen? I think this only really works when you're in a situation, there's something you know is going to benefit you, but you just can't get your head around doing it. If you really feel like you don't want to be riding your bike, maybe you shouldn't ride your bike. But for me, I know in the summer, I'm going to reach a point, if I don't get out and do all this training, I'm going to be kicking myself. And it is hard to get started, but winter miles, summer smiles. That's what I'm trying to tell myself. Whew. Steep. I could have waited till I got to the top to do this, but where's the fun in that? So next time you find yourself in a situation like that, I hope this helps. Don't force yourself to do something that you really don't want to do. But if there's something you know you probably should or can't quite push yourself over the edge, set a timer. Give yourself 15 minutes. If you really don't want to do it, after 15 minutes then quit. Made it to the top. That's not a bad view, is it? Someone said to me on Strava, that's why I don't ride in the rain. That sounds like a crap ride. And yeah, it was, to be honest. Worst one I've had for a while. I do quite a lot of hours and I don't get many issues like that, really. But the point is, I live in England. So if I don't ride in the rain, I don't ride. I could ride on the turbo trainer. And I did 14 hours on the turbo 2 weeks ago. So I know how that feels. Not a chance. I'm now 4 hours in and about an hour and a half left, I think. And so far, so good. The rain's held off until pretty much now. I've just started feeling the first little pieces, first little drips on my glasses. I've ridden these loops quite a few times and I seem to forget every time. I'm coming back along the coast, really exposed all the way home for about an hour, and I've got a headwind again, so really need to plan that better in future. With the microphone, let me know how much better it is in the comments. If it's worth the hassle, if it makes much of a difference to the videos. Mic check, camera, microphone. This is the microphone. This YouTube business, it doesn't pay much at all, but the little it does pay, I like to reinvest into gear and try to make better videos. So let me know what you think of that. I would love to be making different content to this, to be honest, but going out and riding big adventures this time of year when you're numb from the cold all the time, it's just not realistic. So that's another video talking at you again. Sorry about that. But for now, I'm gonna love you and leave you. As we say in England, I've got an hour and a half, probably in the rain. So hopefully no more incidents like yesterday. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next one.